Hi there, my name is Scott Marker, and this is another episode of Treasure Valley NIA Quick Tips. How this came to be, a lot of you already have heard this before, is that I'm the franchise owner of a Network in Action once a month professional referral groups. I got 3 here in the Valley, and through those groups, I meet a lot of um, really experts in their field, and I'm just fascinated by it because it just goes to show how much you don't know about a certain industry unless you live in it. So I bring on local experts and share it with the audience. And today is a perfect example. Justin, introduce yourself.
Hey there, I'm Justin Love. I am an inspector for AAD Inspection. So that's AAD Inspection, stands for first in the phone book. And
Oh,
I've been working for them for about 7 years now, a little over 7 years. And now doubling as home inspector and marketing manager.
oh wow. I'm
Yeah.
glad to have you on here. Uh, yeah, and what I did was I talked to Justin beforehand because just about going over some scenarios, and I'm telling you, he came up with some good ones because it's always about coming up to questions that the audience would, especially if you're a home buyer, home seller. It, again, Justin doing it for 7 years, and plus listening to all of his team mates and what perfect question today. So first question out of the gate is: so you come in and do an inspection for my house, right?
Mhm.
No, excuse me. I'm looking at a house and I go in and you go in and do an inspection for it, but that deal falls through or I don't, it just doesn't work out. So now I find another house. I'm like, oh crap. So
Yeah.
how does that work? And I want you to I think you did a great job, but how does that work? Now
Well,
I got
and
to
it
take the 2
happens
inspections.
surprisingly often. I
Okay.
mean, folks back out of deals all the time. Sometimes it's not necessarily something from the report. It might be something unrelated, but often enough, people are backing out of out of a transaction and then saying, "Oh man, now I got to pay for another inspection."
Yeah.
And often the conversation goes a bit like this. They'll call us up and say, "Oh my goodness, you saved us from a money pit. We almost bought that house. We backed out. They wouldn't agree to our repairs. So we backed out and we definitely want to use you again. But oh man, I'm looking at the price and I don't know if we can swing it." And so generally our advice in that scenario is, well, you have in your hands a viable and valuable report on the previous house that you just walked away from. So why don't you attempt to sell your copy of that report, the full report, to the listing agent or to the sellers? Because to them, they can take that report and use it as a listing inspection. You just give us a call and say, "Hey, we sold it to these guys for whatever price we determined. And now we, as the AAD inspection company, will honor that inspection as a listing inspection, complete with all of our bells and whistles." So free follow-up and home consulting and all of that. So that can be a way to recuperate the cost for the buyer toward their next inspection, but it also empowers the listing agent who, as they part ways, sometimes they might not want to buy the inspection that killed the deal, but at the same time, it's very appealing to have in their hands a copy of a report that's from an unbiased third party
Yep.
that's willing to come back after they make repairs and follow up and prove that those repairs were made.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's one way. Huh. That is a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of these I talked to you about, you have to be. I mean, as a home owner myself, I can see these coming up for sure if I was out for looking for another house.
Well, and
So now, go
even
ahead.
if that doesn't end up being the case, like they didn't get a chance to sell it, or the seller didn't want to buy it, we do always include a $50 reduction on second or subsequent inspections with the same client
Okay.
on a different property.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
if
to say
they
that again. So
if they walk away and they aren't able to sell their copy of the
okay.
report to the listing agent or the seller, they can still ask us if there's anything we can do, and we generally give a $50 discount toward a subsequent
Okay.
inspection with the
Another house.
same seller, or pardon me, with the same buyers,
Okay.
but on a different house.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Then also here, and before we go any further, what's the I know you guys do both residential and commercial. A lot of
Yes.
home inspection companies only do residential, and I
Mhm.
think that's really key. So what's the difference? I mean, I mean, there must be differences, but what's the difference between doing a residential and a commercial inspection?
Well, they each come with their own difficulties. I mean, residential, the construction practices generally are going to be slightly different also, and you're going to run into a wider
Oh,
variety of differences in buildings. And so as from an inspector standpoint, it does require separate sets of training to do residential and then transition into commercial. Plus your clientele is generally going to be looking at different items. For a home buyer, they might buy a house, three to five times in their lifetime. But for investors and business owners, they might buy multiple buildings over the series of a year. And so
yeah, yeah.
we tend to assume that they're more of they've done this before. And so in general, we're not with a commercial inspection, we're not going to include as many little items or little cosmetic defects that they know aren't going to be impactful to
Right.
the transaction. But but yeah, it is a whole different ballgame. I mean, from having your RTUs or the rooftop units that do heating and cooling up on the roof
Mhm.
as opposed to being outside or in the building somewhere to in general, a lot of your commercial buildings don't have crawl spaces, and so they have to be creative about how they're going to run electrical and plumbing and all of that.
Oh, yeah. See, yeah, and that right there is, there's just a lot of differences. So now now you're talking about investors. So now I'm an investor, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a large apartment complex, and but the owners of it are like, hey, I don't want you bugging my tenants.
Yeah.
So yes, I want to sell it, but don't bug my tenants.
Yep.
How do you navigate that?
Well, it's
So
a
I'm
careful.
the investor, but I'm the investor wanting to buy this large complex, right? Rental
Yes.
complex, and but the owners that wants to sell it is like, don't bug them. So how do you handle that?
So generally, if we have a large apartment complex, for example, oh, I know we've done a few that are over 300 units.
Oh, wow.
And if it were just a single guy going through trying to inspect that, it would take probably a few days. But we have a team of over
Oh,
7 inspectors. So when we know in advance, excuse me, that there is an apartment complex or a large set of fourplexes or some need to get a large set of units done quickly so that we don't disrupt the day-to-day of the tenants,
right.
we schedule all of our inspectors to go and knock that property out in one day.
Okay.
And so that's a very effective way to basically get the hive mind of 7 highly trained inspectors to look over an entire property.
Yeah, and that makes a lot more sense than dragging it out. Oh, the specter's going to be here again today.
Yes.
It's been here all week.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, the inspectors are here. You might be a little bit of disruption, but not much. They'll do a good job, but they're going to pound it out in a day. That makes total
Exactly.
sense. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, and then here's one that I came up with when before we're talking is, so now I go to buy a house. I'm the buyer again, and there's this whole laundry list of stuff that needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
So and the owner says, "I'll do some,"
Yes.
right? Maybe I won't do others. I don't know, but I mean, how do I know? I mean, I'm going to buy the house, so how do I know? I got this list that you say, this stuff's minor, so really, I don't care about some things, but there's a few things that I think that the owner should take care of. How do I make sure that they took care of them? You guys help
Yes.
with that?
Well, it's kind of like Reagan with the trust but verify.
Okay,
You have a delicate balance when there's a real estate transaction that
right.
you want to extend the benefit of the doubt, but a lot of times you don't know unless you're very specific in your wording that they agree to on repairs what is going to end up happening. So we lovingly refer to homeowner done repairs as having Uncle Harry come and take care of it.
Yeah.
But the way we would help in that situation is every report that we provide, with the exception of commercial inspections because
Okay.
they're so fast.
Okay.
Every residential inspection includes one free repair inspection or one free follow-up.
Oh,
So
okay.
it includes 1 free hour of the inspector's time to come back for whatever need they have. And generally speaking, it'll be to take the RE10 agreement between the two parties and go through the list and check and compare with what it looked like before and verify that it's actually repaired to their satisfaction. And you'd be surprised how often things are said to have been complete, but then not, including on new construction, actually.
Wow.
So often enough, with an existing home, they'll agree to repairs and then provide receipts and things like that. And those generally tend to kind of hold their feet to the fire a little bit, say, well, I had a professional come do it and here's the copies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes even those, they'll say that it's done when it's not done. So so that's nice to have a third party just kind of have your back.
Come back, make
without
sure the
having
stuff
to
got done.
charge for that extra time. It's basically included in the initial inspection fee. And with new construction, what most people end up doing is they'll pocket that free follow-up for later, because generally speaking, new construction will have less items that need to be verified in a very specific way, like up in the attic or in the crawl spaces. But sometimes it can be very telling how a house performs over a year. So most folks will use that before their builder's warranty is up at the 1 year mark of their purchase, and will come back for an hour and just go in the crawl spaces, go in the attic, check the roof, look around and make sure if there is anything that might be covered under the builder's warranty, we can bring it up.
See, that's a great service right there. And yeah, because again, I've only bought 2 houses, but my first house is the new house, and I wish I would have had you guys because it was a new house and I thought everything. First time buyer, young, don't know what I'm doing, but he anyway, yeah. So that's a great way to do it, to hold their feet to the fire, because if they say they guarantee everything for a year, and then you get to the end of the year and you guys come back out again, and they were supposed to fix something up in the attic, and I don't know if they did or not, right?
Oh, sure.
But it's important. It could be even expensive. So that's great that you guys come back out.
Well, just to give a real world example, I know sometimes it takes living in a space to find certain problems. I mean, we get anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to pour over the home with a fine-tooth comb and find as much as we can, but nothing can quite simulate living in a space for a year. And so inevitably we'll come back and start just by asking, so what have you already noticed over the last year that you haven't brought up to the builder that you forgot about and you just want to make sure it's in the report? What it was, I think 2018, almost all the builders had bought a bad batch of plumbing boots that go up on the roof as the plumbing vent transitions through the roof. It has a plumbing boot with a rubber collar, and almost all of those rubber collars from the manufacturer deteriorated in the first 2 years from UV exposure. It was just a manufacturer defect. So we ended up saving so many homeowners a lot of grief by saving them from roof leaks.
That's great. Hey, before we go any further, I forgot to ask, like, where are you at?
I'm in the attic of my own home. So
okay.
I'm right here next to the furnace.
Okay, I thought it was great because I bet you do a lot of that. I mean, as like when you show up, that was perfect. I never asked you where it was at, but I'm sure you do. I'm sure you're in a lot of crawl spaces and attics.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Feel kind of at home when we're up here. I mean, a lot of folks ask us, oh, you're going to go into those spaces? Ugh, my goodness. Yeah. And for us, it's kind of a nice reprieve sometimes. This time of year is my favorite for inspecting because it's nice and cool in the attic and in the crawl spaces. During the summertime, it gets upward of 150 degrees.
Yeah.
But I can sit up here and it's like fall weather.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, I got just want to wrap this up here, but I want to know, like, I know, but I want the listeners to know, you guys do residential and commercial inspections, but what other type of inspections do you do of properties? But what other type of inspections you guys do?
Yes, so and it matters because there's a lot of things that can come up or that are foreseeable, but only during that window of an inspection contingency. So in addition to just the residential and commercial, we also have sewer scoping available. And that
Super scope, what's that mean?
sewer scoping. So
Okay.
in essence, the drain systems of a home, a lot of times we can go down underneath in the crawl spaces and look at the drain systems that are visible, but we have no idea what the condition is between the house and the street.
Oh,
And for example, a 1930s house might have some of the original older clay drain piping, which can collapse or
wow.
become very brittle over time. A lot of your cast iron connections tend to wear out over time at the connection joints. There's Orangeburg, which is basically a cardboard. Well, okay, to be fair, it's kind of like a pressed paperboard, like a masonite, but then it's impregnated with tar and really more intended as a plumbing vent than to be in the ground because it does collapse over time. So there's a lot of different kinds of drain piping. And
Wow.
even in new construction, we've seen instances where we find problems. For example, they'll use their big machinery, concrete trucks and things like that, and accidentally go over a connection of the drain line, and it'll and misalign even in new construction.
Wow.
So in addition to sewer scopes, also we do mold inspection. So often enough, we'll find mold in a house, and the question inevitably comes up: is it actually mold? Because we can't definitively say just with the naked eye. So it takes taking air samples outside and inside to compare and contrast how much of what types are actually in there, and then taking lift samples at the site to have them identified and put together a protocol so that a mold remediator can come in and follow up with a remediation. And then we also do radon testing.
Oh,
Every house in the valley should have radon
wow.
tested in their home. If your neighbors don't have it, doesn't mean that you can't have it.
Yeah.
We have a great radon class that we teach, a CE class, about to real estate agents to inform them about that. But I would just say, even to just the consumer, go online to Idaho Health or the health website to oh man, maybe not the health. I'm thinking of the wrong link, but Idaho Health and Welfare website, they have a free radon test that you can order for your home to find out what your levels are, because it's one of those things that you don't have any idea that it's in your house, and there's easy steps to prevent it, but the first step is finding out what the levels are.
Right.
And so we do radon testing, and then also water testing, water potability testing. We send those off to labs to be identified for different bacterias, and then soon to be, we're going to be adding well testing to our list. We've partnered with a company that is going through the process of teaching some of our inspectors how to do well testing. And then the company that we're partnered with is going to be offering a 6-month warranty on the well, as long as everything checks out. So it's kind of nice to have that reassurance in a transaction that, oh good, if something goes wrong, I have something to lean on.
No, that's great, because my parents have a well, and it's been a lifesaver for them. They live in AAD County, and man, the water over there is expensive as heck, and so they have a well, and it's done well. One other quick thing I want to do before I end this is talk about your CE classes for that you guys provide for no cost.
Yes. So we have so we have 4 different CE classes, and that's just continuing education classes that we offer to real estate agents. And those are generally going to be hosted at brokerages or at title companies or mortgage companies, mortgage brokers. But the idea is that the agents need to renew their license every year. And so we offer continuing education credits. Each one's worth 2 credits. And we have a class on radon, and we have a class on how to work with home inspectors. And I have another class that we just got approval on not too long ago. It's a renovation loan class, which is just fantastic. Because with the real estate market kind of taking the turns that it is right now, there's a lot of renovation loan options available, but I would say most agents don't know how to navigate through it. And there's plenty of mortgage brokers out there that have never done them before. So Stan, our our CEO, he's been a 203K loan consultant for, I think, the last 20 years.
Wow.
And so he knows the ins and outs of these renovation loans like the back of his hand. And so he offers that class. And then
Awesome.
the last one that we have is minimum property requirements, just a quick way to help agents quickly identify what things need to meet a certain expectation in order for a transaction to go through, whether it be through a VA loan or FHA loan or any of those special lending programs.
Perfect. Well, this has been great, man. I've learned a lot. I'll know if I ever sell my house, I'm gonna know heck how one I'm gonna hire you guys.
Yeah.
But perfect. But hey, appreciate. I'll have it in the show notes too. But just what's the quickest way? If a listener wanted to reach out to you, would be the best way to reach out to you, or a realtor that wants to get some CE credits?
Well, for CE credits, they can always just call our office and find out
Okay.
where the next one's being hosted. Because sometimes they're closed to just the brokerage, like they just want to
Okay.
keep it in house. But a lot of the mortgage companies and insurance companies, they want to host as many agents as possible, and we can let
Okay.
them know when are coming up. So follow our Facebook for that, or Instagram. But
AAD Inspections.
correct, and they can always Google AAD Inspection. It'll be the first thing that comes up on Google search. But then easy way is just www.wecheckhomes.com.
Okay. Perfect. Hey, well, I appreciate it. This has been great, Justin.
Sure.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hey, thanks.